Okay, we're now live on YouTube. This is KP4 Mike Delta.
All right, well, this is N6EMF, and let me start this off, but I want to express that I might be having some technical difficulties, so I'll go ahead and get the net rolling, and we'll see what I can do, and if not, I may request some assistance. Good evening. This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, your net control operator for the River City Arc Slow Scan TV net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City Arcs members and all licensed amateur radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Any station who wishes to check in to the net, please come now.
November 6, Papa, Golf, Quebec.
Alpha India 6, Delta Golf.
L7HQR, Neil, Antelope.
Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta, Carol, Citrus Heights.
All right, well, hello, everyone. This is a great cast we got so far. So good evening, Bob, again, November 6th, Papa Golf, Quebec, and Joel, AI6 Delta Golf. Neil, hello again, KL7HQR, and Carol, KP4 Mike Delta. I know that's chopping the phonetics, but wanted to say thanks, everyone, for checking in. Again, I think I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'll still serve the role and then see whether I can help manage the traffic as we move forward and improve my situation with the computer connection to my signal link. So if anyone, let's see, I could start off with Bob N6PGQ. If you're ready, I can ask you to send a photo, but before I do that, let me check again to see if we have any more check-ins. Well, if no more check-ins, we'll go ahead and roll with Bob N6PGQ. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm going to be sending a picture through with PD120. N6PGQ.
Well, all right, Bob, nice job. I wasn't able to copy but half of the photograph because it took about half of your transmission before I was able to get my signaling up and running. So to be fair, I'll say that it's a photograph that has come through with nice color, and I can see that there's a man there because I'm looking at the bottom half, operating possibly a jig or putting together an antenna kit. I can see a mast and some U-clamps type arrangement there, a sawhorse in the background. But let me turn it over to Joel, AI6DG. Were you able to copy the photo?
Yes, I'll echo what you said. So we've got a gray bearded gentleman wearing a ball cap with a blue trim and a blue sign of some type on the top fret of it. I can't really read it. He's smiling, and behind him there's a tractor in shadow underneath an awning or covering it on the side of a building. It's grass between there and where he's standing with a shoe horse on the right in the background, and it looks like a long, thin cardboard box maybe on the ground, and the background on the left, and he's standing in front of probably another shoe horse that's got, again, probably an antenna of some kind, because I see brackets and part of a long tube, so I'm assuming he's assembling a beam. So that's probably why he's smiling, because, yay, he's about to get it up and running. So I would guess this is an antenna party, or maybe of one, but I hope he got some help. Back to net, AI6DG.
All right. If that's Bob, I'm not sure who it is because I can't see the face, and but I don't see any snacks or desserts in the background because I've listened in and participated in some of Bob's health and welfare nets, and quite a few times he likes to talk about food items that he prepares. So I don't see any there. I'm curious. So N6EMF here. How about Neil, KL7HQR?
Unfortunately, KL7HQR. Unfortunately, I'm having problems here. Also, could not receive the picture. I can see the picture on YouTube. So let me pass. Why don't you go on to Carol and let her comment on it? KL7HQR.
All right, very good, Neil. Thanks for that suggestion there. It also reminds me that we can stream YouTube simultaneously. And while we're on the topic of YouTube, I want to give a shout out to all the YouTube viewers out there. If you're checking us out here on SSTV, check out the cast. We're having fun tonight, and appreciate you checking us out in 6EMF. So how about Carol, Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta? Were you able to copy?
Yeah. This is KP4MD, and I think I've got the microphone turned down a little bit here, just away a bit. Yeah, the picture came through very well. There's a little bar, a horizontal bar through the level of the beard, and I was listening at that time. It looked like somebody doubled for a couple of seconds, and it just caused a couple of those lines to get a little bit of interference. But to be very honest with you, it looks like that actually looks like you, Neil, and looks like you're working on one of your antennas. Maybe it's your step IR. I don't know, but looks very interesting and looked very happy, and doesn't look like you're in Alaska. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that, Carol. I shouldn't ask if you were able to copy. If you're the one running YouTube, you definitely will have. If you're successfully getting to YouTube, you must be able to see the photo. But yeah, I have a line in my photo as well, and I can't tell you why, but I do know that as I was fumbling with the software settings here, my radio did key up for some reason, very briefly, but I can't say when in context of this line, but I suspect it could have had something to do with my radio keying up inadvertently. N6EMF, net control here, and thanks for the comments. I'll turn it over to Bob, N6PGQ. Do you want to tell us more about the photo you've transmitted?
Okay, well, the descriptions that were made are very accurate, and just to let you know, the subject of the photograph is Neil, and he was at my QTH helping me put together my damaged step-IR antenna, and so I snapped a picture. The tractor in the back is an old Ford 8N, and we're putting the mast together in this photograph. There's a sawhorse in the back, and the instruction manual for the antenna is sitting on that sawhorse, and the beam itself is clamped down to a couple of sawhorses so that we can do the work. Neil's got a wrench on one of the saddles that holds the parts together, and so for those people that have been asking about my antenna and tower, it's slowly coming back together, and with the first comment, I did take Neil out to In-N-Out and bought him a hamburger. So the food was provided in 6PGQ.
Oh my gosh, you make my mouth water now. I'm thinking about a chocolate shake and a cheeseburger from In-N-Out right now. So yeah, thanks for that update. And Neil, you're doing honorable work. You got out there and you helped the man put his antenna back together. And so we appreciate that. So we need all the resources we can get in our community. So that's great. Any follow-up comments for you, Neil?
Yeah, of course. I'm paying him back, you know. He did some bad things for me, so I have to pay him back. He was, if you guys remember the video about my tower and antenna going up, Mr. Bob was the one who provided a lot of the muscle power and brain power and helped me do that. It's fun. It's a big, as I told Bob, I hate the reason we're doing this, but it is really fun to do it. It's just putting a puzzle together, and we spent, I think, 2 or 3 days working together there, and so far, before the dead and wounded, nobody got hurt. So that's the way it goes. Back to net.
Well, all right. Any other follow-up comments or questions for Bob? All right. Well, Neil, out of curiosity, were you able to get your receive function up yet, do you think?
Negative. Neither the receive or transmit is going. I'll be enjoying the show via the YouTube today, and I did some disassembly here on the shack, and obviously I did not assemble everything together. So I will enjoy just watching. So bypass me on comments. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I've got a little problem here, and I'll briefly describe it. The computer I'm using has lost its internet connection, and I haven't been able to transfer photos from my iPhone through the iCloud to this desktop. So unless that gets rectified in a few minutes, I'm going to be in the same boat with Neil. I won't be able to transmit. We might have a short show tonight. So while I tinker with that in the background, I'll turn it over to Joel, AI6DG. How are you shaping up there? Are you ready to transmit one this evening?
Let's give this a try. Is there a tone?
Indeed, you have tone in 6EMF.
Okay, this is PD120.
yet, but it looks to me like a blue sleeping bag, possibly in a tent with a couple of stones at the door of the tent, maybe, or a window. I don't. Looks it looks like that's kind of the essence of what I can see so far. So I won't take all the fun out of the transmission and see if there's anybody else out there on YouTube. Maybe Neil can see it on YouTube, or Bob. Let me go back to Bob, November 6th, PGQ. Would you be able to tell us whether you copied the photo, Bob?
Well, the photo came through very, very well. It looks like that this is the interior of a tent. The walls are white with a looks like a black line. It probably is some kind of a moisture barrier that's there. It has two very large stones at the back of the picture. Looks like a mummy type of sleeping bag that's in the picture. Perhaps a rucksack or something to that effect near the back right. And then it looks like a Camelback sort of water bottle in the lower right with a filter on the line. So that's what I see. It came across real well. Very few little pixelations and colors throughout the image, but very nice image as it looks. N6 PGQ.
All right, nice description there, Bob. I think it explains everything that I can see, so thank you for that. Let's see. Neil, did you have any comments or questions so far?
Negative. I'm looking at what Carol got on the YouTube. Beautiful picture, no problem at all, but no comments to add. When we have a chance, I would like to try to test to see if I have a tone going out, but no hurry. Back to you.
Yeah, this is a strange night for me for SSTV. Lots of strange things happening, but do you want to go ahead and test for tone right now? We'll take a quick pause so you can test for tone, Neil. Affirmative, copy tone. Doing good. So let me turn it over to Carol, KP4MD. Obviously, you copied the photo, but did you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. Am I coming in okay? How's my audio level?
Audio level is good. It's nice and strong, pretty much full quieting.
Yeah, okay. I think what I did have to do is turn down the microphone boost. It was just a little bit heavy. Yeah, well, you can see the picture I saw there. It's looks like kind of a wrinkled up sleeping bag inside a white tent. And looks like whoever got out of there was in a rush to get out of there. I don't know if there was something like a polar bear in the neighborhood or something. But nobody there, just an empty tent with a ruffled up sleeping bag. So back to net control.
That paints a picture in my mind. It does kind of look like either someone just didn't want to make up the bed, or they scrambled out of there in a hurry and maybe tripped over the rocks to get out of the room. Just thought I'd have fun with that. Just kidding. Okay, well, it's your turn, Joel. Alpha India 6, Delta Golf. Would you like to tell us about the photo you sent?
No bear, not in a rush, just messy. I can't imagine someone folding and neatening up their sleeping bag after a night, but yeah, this is even messier though than I imagine a lot of people would do. But it's a down bag about 3 pounds, and it's enough, especially if I wear extra layers at night, to keep me happy and alive, down well below freezing. The tent's not white, it's actually a very light green, but it's so bright outside that I can see you thinking it's white. And the way we're looking in from the door, and I always put my feet out at the far end, and that's also a bit narrower. This is a one-man tent, so on the door end it's quite a bit wider. So you see the two stones at the far end, and those are there to keep the tent from blowing away. Where I am is very windy, and there's not necessarily a place to put stakes into the ground. And I'm lazy anyway, not wanting to do stakes. So I just set the tent up, and usually what's in it is enough to keep it in place, most places. But this is at trail camp on Mount Whitney, and it's extremely windy up there. So I found out the hard way here and other places that when I set this tent up, I got to put big stones in to keep the tent from blowing away. You can see just an edge of gray below the left rock, and that's actually the pad I sleep on. The pad makes a huge difference. It's not very thick, but it's enough to take the edge off the hard ground. But most importantly, it's insulation. Ground can get not only hard, but also very cold at night. There's been multiple times I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm cold and I've rolled off the pad and I need to slip back onto the top of it, and then I go back to sleep. The black thing in the back is a little hip pack that I can put camera gear or whatever into, an extra few water bottles or something. And what you thought was a water bottle hose or tube is actually a USB cigarette lighter adapter, but I've added a little connector on it that I can plug into a battery. And the white thing twisting around is a USB cable, and you can't really see it, but below that there's a little headphone jack. So I actually take my phone up and keep it charged by plugging into the USB, and at night, maybe before I go to sleep, watch a movie or listen to music or something. The little white spot at the very bottom middle is actually a clean pair of underwear, because you always want to bring extra clothes, because you might get wet, you might get something dirty on it, and if you're up there long enough, you always want to change your clothes anyway. You just feel so much better after a certain point. And the extreme lower right corner is actually the bag comes with two bags to put it in. There's a stuff bag that's maximum compression and the very small, but you don't want to leave it permanently in that because it compresses the down. So when you get home, you take it out of the stuff bag and put it into a storage bag, which is basically an open weave, much larger bag. And I don't usually have problems getting cold, but I have had problems at night with my neck. I need neck support, otherwise I wake up in the morning with a very sore neck. So I take the stuff bag, and any spare clothes or jackets or anything I stuff into the stuff bag, and that turns into my pillow. And that's about everything on the inside. Next picture I upload, whether it's tonight or next week, will be from the outside looking at where I am in the trail camp area on the Mount Whitney. Back to net, AI6DG.
All right, well, thanks for giving us some insight into the adventure lifestyle. So much appreciated. I always ask this question when you show the outdoorsy photos: did you have an ultra portable HF radio with you?
I haven't been backpacking really since I got hot and heavy into ham radio, and especially not since I got the KX2. So, it's actually been in my mind. The next time I do Mount Whitney, so the top half of my backpack and about 20 pounds worth, instead of being camera gear, will my next trip have it be ham radio gear? That's being considered, but I haven't done it yet.
All right, that's what I want to hear. Maybe you could figure out a way to do both. A ultra portable camera, which is really integrated with your cell phone, and maybe put a telephoto lens adapter on there, a tripod or something. I'm kind of halfway serious and halfway harassing you. N6EMF. Any other comments, questions for Joel? All right, folks. I was unable to get a photograph positioned the way I needed to. My SSTV is doing all sorts of weird things. But what I'm going to try to do is send a PD50 image that I created on the fly, and I think you'll get the message. So N6EMF, Net Control, will be attempting to transmit a photo in just a moment here, PD50. Well, let me just go around the list. Probably not a whole lot of commentary is required, but at least want to see if, for testing purposes, if N6PGQ could copy.
Well, my brain was in the wrong gear, and so I'm trying to figure out how you were doing worked all states. And then it went down to the next line, and it says N6EMF was not here. So below that is a horizontal pink, and then gradiating to a darker pinkish red, and then a vertical, somewhat pink line, a little bit of a space, and then multicolored lines. So I don't know if that was my reception or what you transmitted, but that's what I got, N6PGQ.
All right, well, thank you for that comment. Raises a question mark in my mind. Thank you. Let me turn it over to Joel, AI6TG.
No, good reception, but I'm kind of curious, too, what this pink bar thing is. Because the pink bar starts 1 pixel right at the top, and then by the time gets down to the big bar, it's 2 or 3 pixels wide. And the last half, the bar goes about as far over as to the middle of the R in here, and half of it is alternating light pink, dark pink lines, and the other half is kind of a weird mishmash of dark pink and dark red, with the very first line or two at the top being kind of a mix all the way across. So I don't know if it's a skew from sync issues, or if it's a bar you actually put there and it just came across weird. I got it, and the YouTube picture has it also, very similar. Back to that AI6DG.
All right, well, a picture is shaping up in my mind as to what could be happening. I don't want to skip Neil. I want to keep him part of the net and in the conversation, and check and see if he is ready for comment. Do you have any comments or questions?
No comment, scale 7-inch square. Exactly. I see. I'm looking at the YouTube, and I understand what they're describing. And so I'll let you finish the comments here. Then when it comes to my turn, I'll try to describe the problem I'm having here. So back to Ned.
Very good. Thanks for that, KL7HQR. Carol, did you want to make any comments or have any questions about what you saw?
Sure. Yeah, this is KP4MD. I got exactly what everybody described. Exactly. N6EMF was not here. It's all in a bold uppercase with underlining. And then there's that color, the pink and the red color bar goes about halfway across from the left uh, down the frame. But the first thing that came to my mind was when I read this was you might have heard of the situation where there was a group of patients on a psych ward that were sitting in a circle for a group therapy session, and the psychiatrist walks into the group and sits down and then starts the session by saying, "Does anybody know why we're here?" And one of the patients raises his hand and says, yes, because we're not all there. So what about that? Back to net control.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love it. Thank you. I didn't think of it in that context at all, but yeah, I kind of feel like I'm not there the way my computer and my radio and my signal link is interacting tonight. So thanks for that, Carol. So a couple things are happening. When I move my mouse, the serial data from the mouse is somehow coupling into the signaling control. So when I move the mouse, sometimes the radio keys up and drops out. Sometimes it controls the software or causes the software to do things. And so I think I need to reboot my computer, but it looked like Windows did an update today, possibly, and it disrupted my network connectivity as well as somehow cross-pollinated the USB serial channel with the signal link channel. I don't know how that could have happened, but anyway, so what this is, since I couldn't get a photograph out of iCloud due to network connectivity issues, I decided to open up Microsoft Paint on my laptop. And what I did was I typed in N6EMF was not here, and I saved it as a BMP. And I did learn a long time ago not to do that with SSTV. So this is a bitmap. But the other thing that I did that's twice as bad is to put it in the save as type monochrome bitmap, which is really not good. I've seen the results of this before where photographs don't come out right. So I think it's a combination of saving it as a monochrome bitmap file and having problems with the USB controller on my laptop. So there's my story, but I wanted to be able to transmit a photograph, and at least there was something worth discussing. Something worth discussing. Thank you. All right, so if nothing else on that, turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR, if you want to discuss what you've seen with your computer or whatever. Let's go for it.
Roger, but there was a double with you there. Maybe you, whoever doubled with Wilson, please come in.
That was me. I was wondering if the pink red bar is on the original that you sent. Was it on your end?
No, negative.
Okay, it's KL7HQR. The problem that I am currently having is on the receiving, since there is a tone. I look at, I have rebooted SSTV 2 or 3 times. I rebooted the computer. I checked the wiring and connecting. And my waterfall shows all kinds of activity. But when I look at the bar that shows the actual signal being detected, it's completely black. So, and nothing works, so I cannot receive anything. So if it's okay, I would like to try to see if it works on sand. I will start sending the picture, but I'll keep an eye on YouTube. And if I don't see anything coming up in YouTube in a few seconds, then I'll interrupt and go back to that, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Neil. Thank you for the update.
Okay, this should be on PD 120. Okay, apparently it was not going, so I stopped. And now I look up and I see that he was going. I apologize, guys. What a night, as you said, Wilson. I may want to try it again if you guys have the patience.
Yeah, I could suggest not to be impatient at all, but maybe shoot at PD50. That's a quick one if you want. But do whatever you would like. N6 EMF. Go right ahead.
Well, I couldn't do that because the picture was created for PG 120. Let's go on and let Carol send her picture, and if we have time, I'll give it another try before we close.
All right, that's very generous of you, Neil, and we'll go ahead and do that. Carol, Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta, if you're ready to transmit a photo, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. This is KP4MD. Just remember, when you're looking at YouTube, there's I guess maybe a 20 to 30-second delay on the YouTube streaming compared to what's going over the air. So you definitely were sending the picture from when you started, and don't give up too soon there. Okay, here's going to be also PD 120 and not PD50. I'm going to do PD 120, and here we go.
all right, Carol. That came through just fine. I see a sideways oriented photo, or actually oriented photos, proper orientation. It looks like the filter circuit of our tuna tin, if I'm not mistaken, and you put some kind of capacitor across coil L3 that might be serving as a trap of some kind. But a funny thought that I had, because I'm not all there, is that this is a bed of seaweed with little pieces of calamari chopped with stripes of hot sauce and an unusual shape for chewing gum. Anyway, that's kind of a strange connection there, but just having fun with it. So what is it? I'm guessing. A trap, trying to bypass something, trying to... anyway, so I'll turn it over to Bob, N6PGQ. What did you see?
Well, those things look like the mints that you get at a Mexican restaurant when you're finished with your meal. And then somebody just dropped a glob of gum on it, and looks like there it sits. But no, actually, it looks like someone's added a capacitor across the toroid, and it looks like one heck of a capacitor compared to the other components that's on the printed circuit board.
Very good, very good. Joel, AI6DG.
Okay, so we've got a green circuit board. It's the extreme left. It says XMIT, so this is either the transmitter board or the transmitter section of the board. I see a couple of beige tantalum-type capacitors up on the top. Across the middle, we've got a big ceramic, maybe 27 picofarad or 27 nanofarad. I'm not sure what 270J comes out to, but it says 100 volts, and it's across one of four toroids I see going across the center of the board. See this the bare edge of one on the right, then we've got a full one that the ceramic caps across, and then one to the left of that one, and then there's a fourth one we can't see because it's behind the cap. And then down below we've got from left to right, a resistor, another much smaller ceramic cap, another tantalum style, and maybe a relay or a connector or something on the extreme lower left. It's blue. It's got some leads going into the board on it. Can't completely tell. So I'm wondering if they're trying to modify the band well, I don't know what section this is. Is it the bandpass filter section, or is it an antenna tuner section? If it's a bandpass filter, you could be trying to tune it to a different band than originally designed for by adding that cap, maybe. Especially if you added the cap and rewound the toroid. And anyway, Carol will have the answer. I look forward to hearing it. Back to Net AI6TG.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. It's definitely our Tuna 10S, so I built this one along with the other DIY radio group folks, so this will be fun to hear Carol's story about what's being done here. Let's see, I lost my check-in list, but go right down the list and check in with Neil to see if he wants to make a comment or have a question about what maybe you can probably see yours on SSTV now, Neil?
No negative reception here, but looking at YouTube, I think I understand what this is. I think this is the modification that Carol talked about earlier on one of the other nets, coming from a suggestion from a VK ham radio operator to try to make the Tuna 10 operating on from 40 to 30 meters. So I'll just let her, since I cannot talk about the quality of the picture that I received, I'll just let her do the proper explanation. Back to that.
All right. Well, thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. So, Carol, Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta, you're up. You want to describe what you've sent to us? Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, this is KP4MD. Yeah, this is a picture of what I was describing on the 10-meter net earlier tonight. Bob, K6GCN, had asked me about this. This is the Tuna 10S, which is a transmitter, single band transmitter. And this one was built for 40 meters, and that is the low pass filter. Those four toroids. It has a good pass, very little attenuation on 7 megahertz, of course, for the 40 meter signal to go through. And then it's a low pass filter, so it has the attenuation increases as you go up in frequency, of course, to suppress the harmonics, and it has a very sharp notch on the second harmonic, which is 14 megahertz. It's a series LC circuit across the output that essentially puts that good deep notch there on 14 megahertz. So it passes FCC requirements for signal purity. But what happened was I saw a video from VK3YE about a week ago. That's Peter Parker down in Australia, who likes to do a lot of hobbyist, amateur radio hobbyist short videos on YouTube. And he described the situation as very similar to this. He has a single band CW radio transmitter, and he wanted to use the filter on a different band, on an adjacent band. And he figured out a way to be able to get a notch on a second harmonic of another band using the same filter. So what I did in this case with this 7 megahertz filter is I wanted to operate on 5 megahertz at 60 meters. And the problem with doing that is that the second harmonic is 10 megahertz. And the second harmonic, the filter as it exists, does not have sufficient attenuation to suppress the harmonic energy enough to be compliant with FCC regulations. So what he did was there's this one inductor that's in series going out towards the output, and it's just a plain inductor with nothing across it. And he said, well, why don't I put a capacitor across that and turn it into a parallel resonant circuit that would then block the second harmonic of that 5 megahertz that I'm trying to put through. So I said, great. The inductance of that inductor L3 was like it was 840 nanohenries, something like that. And to get that to resonate on 10 megahertz, which is the second harmonic, required a 270 picofarad capacitor. So I looked through my junk box, and I have this capacitor, which is about 30 years old. That's why it's so darn big. But it was perfect in size to be able to solder it there in parallel across that inductor. And I went ahead and put the transmit on 5 megahertz and put it on the spectrum analyzer, and lo and behold, there's 40 dB attenuation now on 10 megahertz, and was able to transmit with it. And I picked up the signal at the WebSDR in the Half Moon Bay on 5.332. So it works. I now have a radio that'll work 2 bands with 1 filter. So that was pretty nifty. Back to net control. It's KP4MD.
Well, that was a fantastic outcome at a very low price, except for the investment of time to figure it out. But it's a very slick maneuver and a really good outcome. I'm going to have to take a closer look at this one. The problem is will I have one of those capacitors lying around somewhere to try? But that's fantastic, and congratulations, Carol, to finding a solution to get a multi-band on there, at least a dual band. So, nice work.
Yeah, Actually, I do have several other of these exact same capacitors if anybody else wants to try it, this KP4MD.
Yes, please reserve one now. Thank you. And might send a self-addressed stamped envelope, SE. I don't know if people do that anymore. But if I sent one to your PO box, you might just drop one in the mail for me, unless we're going to get together sometime in the near future for parts again. But did anybody else have any comments on this? And this is pretty cool.
KL7HQR, I would be interested in one myself. If nothing else, it's the first time I see a capacitor the way I remember them being.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah, so I called it a trap. I guess I was pretty close in conceptually as to what it was doing. But how about Joel? Did you have any thoughts?
Good intro to some basic RF theory. It's actually interesting sitting down just looking at the block diagram of how transmitters and receivers and OPPO equipment works. And this is a perfect example of applying that. So can this be extended to add other band combos?
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. Yeah, you could do it. What you could do it is, like for example, I think he had a 20 meter filter that he wanted to use on 10 megahertz, and that's what he did. So just the same thing with another capacitor across an existing inductor, and he found that it put a nice rejection notch on the second harmonic of 10 megahertz. So he was able to use that filter as well on both 30 and 40 meters. 30 and 20 meters over.
Switching matrix. How about multiple caps on a switching matrix? That would make it multi-band.
Yeah, you could do something like that, but then you get to the point where the inductances are not optimal for such a wide frequency range, and you start losing some of the efficiency.
All right. Well, let me circle around to Bob, N6PGQ. Did you are you still with us, Bob? Did you have any questions or comments?
No, well, I commented at the beginning. Yeah, I agree with Neil. That's the way a capacitor used to look and what I remembered in my junk boxes from the past.
All right. Let's see. So I think, Neil, did you still want to transmit a photo?
Yeah, I can do that very quickly. There will be very, very little need for comment on that. So if nothing else, just to see if I can't do it. I see here is 55, so we'll make it kind of quick. Okay?
Go right ahead, Neil. Thank you. All right, Neil, it looks really nice. Good color spectrum. I can see N6NA SSTV Net, day KL7HQR on the left and the right, and in the middle, an historic 1927 copy front page of the QST amateur radio magazine, apparently. That's really cool. I like that. It's my comment. I'm kind of going random order. Maybe Bob, go ahead.
Well, I like the fact that the magazine's priced appropriately, and I'd like to build an inexpensive, low-power, crystal-controlled transmitter also, except I'd probably go talk to Phil or Carol and see if we could put some kind of a VFO on the thing and make it a little bit more useful. Yeah, it's probably one of the old small QSTs that we've all seen and handled and probably wish we'd saved. N6PGQ.
Lots of fun stuff. It looks like it has the form factor of an Elecraft KX2. Today that would be $2,500. All right, random order. Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. Well, it looks like it's built on a wooden board. It looks like you have three controls in the front of it. There look like maybe variable capacitors. There's what looks like a couple of vacuum tubes and a coil between the vacuum tubes. Perhaps there's something round there. And to the left upper corner of that board, I'm not sure what that is. It's something rectangular. That might be the crystal. Well, I think what Bob would like to do is he'd like to substitute an Arduino Nano and an SI5351 with a digital display in that position right there. So he'd be able to cover the whole band and QSY everywhere with that thing. Yeah, that's January 1927, if I'm not mistaken, is the year on that. Complete details in this issue. Very good. You can even read that. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Thank you for that, Carol. Joel, AI6DG.
QST, devoted entirely to amateur radio, published by the American Radio Relay League. How to build an inexpensive, low-power, crystal-controlled transmitter. Complete details in this issue, January 1927. 25 cents, which was a bit of money back then, probably. And this is the original meaning of breadboarding, if it's on a wooden board. But yeah, you got three air gaps on the front, two tubes in the background, an air wound coil. I don't know what that is on the right that's in the middle, or the rear left. But it's interesting looking at the wiring. It looks like they've got nice square straight lines going between the components and probably attached to the board. I thought we were looking at the front panel or something when I first saw this. It took a while for me to realize, oh, wait a minute, this looks like air gap caps on the bottom. We must be looking down at it, not front at it. And I noticed they just say transmitter. They don't even mention the mode. So I'm assuming this is CW, and before hams were using AM, which is what they used before a sideband, which is what they used before all this new fancy digital computer-controlled stuff. Back to net, AI6DG.
I know, I'm realizing I confused the circled 25 cents price. That's the price of the magazine issue. But still, today, the magazine that would probably be between $7 and $10. So it's interesting to think about the change in price and, the dollar and how that changes. Did you have anything you wanted to contribute?
Yeah, it's KL7HQR. Yeah, I was looking through my garage, and all of a sudden I came across a big box, and I immediately knew what it was in there that I had completely forgotten. Back in Houston, back in 19 on Silent Key, let's see. I have the entire year 27, 28, 29, all the years from 39 through 45 during the war, and they're not in the best condition. As you can see, the front page, the cover is off, it's disconnected. But they are fascinating reading for the advertising and for the circuitry, and so I want to make. They're very fragile, but I want to make them available for any of you if you want to take one or two issues and browse through them. As long as I can get it back, I'll be very, very glad to let you guys have it for a while. It's definitely fascinating to see. And on the circuitry that you guys see there, on the right-hand side, just above the variable capacitor, there is a little circle with a couple of lines going up. And having seen it in person, that is the crystal holder in there, the vacuum tube. There is a vertically installed coil, Bakelite type coil in the middle. And the one on the left side are two coils. One is perpendicular to the capacitor and perpendicular to the back. The other one, I don't know if it's movable. It probably is movable to change the inductance. I have not read the article. But anyway, I just wanted to send this out as a flag that if anybody's interested, just let me know, and we'll be very glad to share. Those things are great to be shared with people who are interested, not to sit in a box. KO7 Ishur.
Appreciate that, Neil. Definitely interested in seeing those, so maybe if you're going to get out and do a field day, you bring some out and some protective sleeves, and we can, if you don't mind, have a look while we're there, and then that way, there's minimal, time for borrow. I think I could spend a half an hour looking at one of these, and that'd be a good dose for me, as opposed to taking it home. So let us know what you think. Any other comments?
Comment?
Go right ahead. N6NA FM.
Not to diss the real thing, because there's nothing like the feel and smell of old books like that, and it's just amazing thinking just how long before you, or maybe even your parent, existed, that this thing existed. Old doesn't mean bad, but it wouldn't surprise me that there was somewhere online a place where you could view these old QSTs, and it might even be at ARL. I know they've got some, but I don't know how far back they go. But anyway, just FYI, back to that AI6TG.
That's good. It's a good suggestion, Joel. Yeah, I would appreciate looking at this in either way, either form. There's a lot that could be gleaned from looking at these. Any other comments, questions? Yeah, I'd be particularly interested in seeing, what happened right around, the peak of the war. So that'd be interesting for a lot of reasons. But I think we're ready to wrap up the net. It's just about 10:06, and before I seek to close out, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Any other points of discussion or questions overall?
Just to add, if you look at the officers of ARRL at that time in this particular issue, there is a name, Heron Percy Maxim, as the president. So that tells you how far away it goes. Thanks. Good net, guys. 73s, and we'll figure out how to fix things for the next time. KO7HQR clear.
Likewise, Neil. I want to express appreciation to everybody who has participated in tonight's SSTV Net. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. And thanks also to the viewers out there monitoring on YouTube. So we hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. This net is officially closed at 10:07 p.m. Pacific Time. This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, wishing all of you a good evening. 73.